Hello and welcome to the Faded Wildflower Crochet. My name is Rachel, and today is another installment of me trying out 4 different patterns that I found in 4 different ways. And today, of course, is the Ornament edition. Now, as this video comes out, it is only 2 weeks away from Christmas, which may not be enough time to start a big project, but it's the perfect amount of time to make an ornament or 2 or 3 or 4. So I found an ornament pattern here on YouTube, on a blog, in a library book, and on the Hobby website. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first pattern that I tried was this cute little sweater ornament that I found here on YouTube. And actually, I didn't go looking for this pattern at all. It was suggested to me in my YouTube feed, and I thought it is so cute. I have to try it. And it is by the designer Mushy? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I am so sorry. But let's go ahead and cut to the montage of me making the sweater. Here is my cute little sweater ornament all done. I think it turned out so cute and it was so fun to make. I have to say right off the bat that her voice is so relaxing. I could never. I feel like people complain about my voice because it's kind of raspy and gravelly, and her voice is just like butter. It's so nice. Now it does say on the title of this listing for beginners. I would say probably not for like beginners. Like I wouldn't do this as your first or second project, but maybe an advanced beginner and up could do this pattern. And she really does walk you through all of the steps, so that is great. The only thing that I didn't really like is that she didn't have the pattern written up on the screen at all times. I really like when video tutorials do this because it's really easy to keep track of. If you pause it and you kind of just can read that portion and skip around a little bit and just kind of watch the parts that you need to watch, but otherwise just kind of skip through. And this pattern sometimes had it written on the screen and then sometimes didn't, so you can't really depend on that. That's the only thing I didn't really like, but I just kind of watched the video through. I was just along for the ride. If you guys know me, you know that I'm not really a video tutorial kind of a girl. I prefer a written pattern, so that's kind of my preference, but if you love a video tutorial, this one is so excellent. The only thing that I did change was to put the different colors at the end of the sleeves where hers were all white. But I think that's the great thing about this pattern is that it's so customizable. You can make it all in one color. You can make it a rainbow of colors, whatever you're feeling. Great scrap buster. Great video, definitely recommend. So moving on, we are going to be talking about this cute little lollipop design that I found on the blog Rafa Musa. Again, I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right. So let's go ahead and cut to lollipop making, Rachel. Here is my little lollipop all finished. I think it turned out really, really cute, but it was a bit of a struggle when it came to getting the swirl right, but we'll get to that in a minute. I have to say that I really love the way this design came together. You crochet each piece of the lollipop and then you crochet them together and then you go straight into the little lollipop stick. And then the bow is just such a nice little touch. I think it is overall really, really cute. But my struggle was that I had never really done surface crochet slip stitches before in the correct way anyways. I think I had read that before and just crocheted them like this. It's kind of hard for me to explain without showing you. But with this, you kind of crochet from the back. Maybe I will insert some footage, but you take the yarn and from the wrong side and then pull up the loop and slip stitch and then pull up the loop and slip stitch. If you know what a surface slip stitch is, then you know what I'm talking about. But I was kind of just crocheting it, like picking up loops as I went around, and that is incorrect. I learned something new. I mean, you learn something new every day. This is something I love about crochet, is that I've been crocheting for almost 15 years and I'm still learning new things. So I did get the hang of it and I actually really like it. But my other struggle was that it was a little bit hard for me to figure out exactly where the swirls were supposed to go. And you can see that the back and the front of mine look a little bit different. And they do have a chart on there, but I feel like it would have been a little bit more helpful to actually show the crochet hook going into the right place so that you kind of know where to start. I kind of just guessed, and it's really not a huge deal that it's not perfect, but I think that it is really, really cute. And I think that I'm now a little bit obsessed with surface slip stitches. I kind of want to make another project with them because I do really love the way that it looks. I will say that this pattern is definitely top heavy. You can see that it falls over, which is fine since this is an ornament. But if you're expecting this pattern to translate over to a toy that a kid could play with, it's not really going to work because it is going to be quite floppy. But, you know, as an ornament, it works just fine. This pattern is written really well and has lots of photos. So like I said, the only thing I would really change is the visual representation of the swirl. I think it would just help to see somebody doing it other than just the chart. But other than that, I think this pattern was great. I definitely recommend it. It is classified as an intermediate pattern, and I would say that that's pretty accurate. So now let's talk about a pattern that I found in a library book, or more specifically that I found on Hoopla. If you don't know what Hoopla is, it is just an app that you can get through your local library. You have to enter in your library card number, and then everything you get on there is free. And I found this pattern, and it was just a standalone pattern, not part of a book or anything. It's just you check it out, and it's just the pattern for this cute little reindeer. It is by the designer Katie Galouse, and I'm so sorry. I know that I'm pronouncing that wrong. I actually tried to look up how to pronounce it, and I couldn't find anything, so I'm so sorry, Katie, but name butchering aside, let's go ahead and cut to reindeer making Rachel. So here is my reindeer. It is so cute, you guys. And I am happy to tell you this pattern is incredibly well written. I was not expecting much, I have to admit, when I saw that it was just a standalone pattern. I have tried these in the past and not always had the best luck with them, but this one proved me wrong. It was so well written. There were photos. I thought this was excellent. Now, the only thing I noticed was that when I was finished, I noticed I didn't have as much of the white portion of the face as she did in her pattern. And I think that that just comes down to tension. You guys know that I tend to have a tighter tension than other people. And so what I ended up doing was just embroidering with the same color of yarn around just to make that section look a little bit bigger. But that's the only thing that I changed about this. It was such a joy to make. And I did look this up, and if you don't have Hoopla, you can buy this pattern as a standalone pattern for 99 cents on Amazon. And then I also saw that she had this available as a crochet kit for, I think, $20, and it had enough yarn to make 2 reindeer ornaments. And now I cannot vouch for the materials in that kit, but I can vouch for the pattern, and it is an excellent pattern. It may be that I look up some other patterns of hers and see if she has some other crochet kits, because I would love to try one for the channel. So as you can tell, I definitely recommend this pattern. I would say that it's probably the most accurate as an advanced beginner. If you have a couple of amigurumi under your belt, I would definitely say go for this one. Now keep in mind that it does take a little bit longer. This one definitely took the longest of the 4 that I tried because it is a pretty big ornament, but it's an ornament, so it's not going to take you too long. So that brings us to the very last pattern of the day, which is this cute little stocking that I found on the Hobbii website. Now, I tried out some Hobbii yarns a while back, and I was really impressed by the amount of free patterns that they had on their website. And I had enough of the blue cotton yarn that I had bought from them, and it pairs perfectly with the peaches and cream yarn, and I had some in white in my stash, and so I decided to use that to make a stocking, and so let's cut to that. So here he is all finished up, and I do think that this turned out quite adorable. It is much bigger than I expected, but I think that comes down to the fact that they called for a thinner weight cotton and I used a thicker weight cotton, but that's okay. I do think he's quite cute and looks adorable on the Christmas tree. And this pattern was so quick. I was actually so impressed by how quickly this pattern worked up. It was definitely the quickest of the 4. But my criticism for this pattern comes down to the heel portion. Now, I have made stockings and slippers and stuff before that use this method where when you get to this part, you start working it in rows, then you seam it up, and then you continue to work on it, which I do think is a nice method, but I don't know that this pattern explained it very well. Now, when it comes to this portion, like I said, you start working in rows. The problem is this pattern did not have a stitch count for that section, and I don't know why, because they had a stitch count for all of the rounds. But when it came to this little row section, they didn't have a stitch count, which I always like having a stitch count just to make sure at the end of my rows that I have the right amount of stitches, but they didn't have a stitch count. And then when it comes to seaming up the heel, they do have photos, but I personally did not find the photos very helpful. Like I said, I knew what I was doing because I've done this before, but if you've never done it before, you might find it a little bit confusing. Again, maybe that's just me, but I just didn't feel like the photos were at the right angle for me to really understand what they were doing. And they didn't have captions to tell you what they were doing in the photos. They just have photos. So I don't know, maybe that's just me, but if you've never done this before, I would definitely check over that section first to see if you understand what they're doing. And if you don't, then maybe skip this one or go watch a tutorial or something like that. But overall, I do think it's really cute. I love that they included the face details, But then of course you could leave that part off if you didn't want it, which makes this very customizable. Of course you could change all the colors around. You can make this in a smaller yarn if you want it to be smaller. This has also worked in half double crochets, which makes it a little bit bigger. You could work this in single crochets to make it a little bit smaller. So I love the versatility of this pattern, and I do think it is very adorable. Just don't love that heel portion of it. This pattern is labeled intermediate though, and I would say that that is pretty accurate. That is all I have for you guys today. You'll have to let me know what you thought of this video and let me know which one was your favorite. If I had to choose, I might choose the reindeer, although I really do love the way the stocking looks finished, but I feel like the reindeer one was the most fun to make. So I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think. And of course, if you made it to this part of the video, let me know. What were you working on as you watched today's video? If you did like today's video, be sure to hit the like button. You can subscribe, stick around. Let me know what other kind of videos you want to see next. You can follow me on Instagram. You can check out my Etsy shop. You can join my Patreon where I make bonus videos as well as an exclusive pattern once a month. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.